They say you can tell when your life is about to change, some little twitch in the air, like the way birds go quiet before a storm. I didn't notice it. Not then. No. I was too busy trying to pick a tie that wouldn't scream, "Divorced dad," trying to be relevant. Ashley, my wife of 6 years, had texted me that morning. "Dinner tonight? Just us. I need to talk." 7:30 at Vesper. Heart emoji. It wasn't unusual. We'd had our rocky patches. What married couple doesn't? But I thought maybe this was her olive branch. Maybe she wanted to reset. Reconnect. I even made a reservation, like an idiot, before realizing she already had one. When I walked into the restaurant, I was 10 minutes early. She wasn't. But he was. There he sat, sipping something red, swirling it around like he knew what it meant. Button-down shirt a size too small, beard groomed like he was auditioning for a dating app. Ashley's colleague, if I remembered the name right. Chase something. Logan. He beamed as if we were old friends. I stared. "Yeah, sorry, do I know you?" He smiled wider. "You will." That's when she walked in. My wife, looking like she'd just stepped out of a photo shoot titled "Newly Single and Thriving." Tight black dress. Hair curled just the way I used to like it. She kissed Chase on the cheek and turned to me with a businesslike smile. "This won't take long," she said. I didn't sit down right away. My hands itched. Not from rage. Not yet. But from confusion. I had missed a memo. Or maybe a dozen. "Tell me this isn't what I think it is," I said, voice low. Chase leaned forward. "You've got two options, Logan. Leave quietly, or face me like a man." I blinked. Actually blinked. Did this guy just give me a movie villain line in a steakhouse? Ashley didn't flinch. She even smiled, like this was all part of the script. My script. I sat. Not because I was giving up, but because I knew something they didn't. They were playing checkers on a board I'd been carving in secret for years. See, you don't stay married to someone like Ashley without learning how to read the fine print on her lies. I didn't know what the twist was yet, but I could smell it, like rain behind the clouds. Chase thought he had the upper hand. Thought he was walking into this story as the hero. But he didn't know that I'd already started writing my own ending. And spoiler alert, it wasn't going to end with a polite handshake. The waiter came over with water and good intentions. "Can I start you off with anything?" "No," I said, cutting him off. "But you can clear this extra chair." I gestured toward Chase. "He won't be staying long." Chase laughed. One of those nasal, breathy ones that tries to sound confident but lands squarely and insecure. Ashley gave him a side glance, like she wasn't sure if she should be embarrassed or impressed. "So," I said, turning to her, "this is how we do it now? Bring me to a restaurant like we're hosting a breakup Zoom call in person?" Ashley took a breath and folded her napkin slowly, deliberately. That's how I knew she'd rehearsed this. Word for word. Fold by fold. "Logan," she said, tone gentle, like I was some child who didn't understand fractions. "This hasn't been working for a long time. You know it." "What I know," I said, leaning in, "is that I've been married to a woman who stopped looking me in the eye 6 months ago. I know your gym membership magically activated the same day you started working late. And I know Chase here." I glanced at him. "Wears more cologne than a department store and has been mentioned in our house more times than our mortgage." Chase shifted in his seat. Ashley's smile didn't crack, but her nostrils flared ever so slightly. "We've grown apart. That's not a crime." "No," I nodded. "But dragging your husband to a public place to watch him get replaced by a protein shake in tight pants? That should at least get you community service." "Hey, man," Chase started, puffing out his chest like he was auditioning for a confrontation. "You're making this more dramatic than it needs to be." I tilted my head. "Really?" "Because I'm just sitting here, watching my wife tag out like we're in some emotional WWE match." Ashley put her hands flat on the table. "This isn't a debate. I'm moving forward, with Chase. You deserve someone who really gets you." "Oh, like he gets you?" I asked. "Knows your favorite wine? The way you hum when you're nervous? The scar on your ankle from climbing that stupid tree in college?" Her lips parted just slightly, caught off guard. I'd struck something buried. Chase shifted again. I wasn't supposed to fight back. I was supposed to nod, maybe even cry politely into a cloth napkin, and vanish so they could ride off into a real estate ad together. But instead, I stood up. Calm. Measured. "You've made your choice," I said. "But let me be very clear. This isn't over. It's just halftime. And I play a very good second half." Ashley blinked. Chase opened his mouth like he was about to say something inspirational from a Hallmark calendar. But I was already walking out. Because while they were trying to stage a neat little exit, they didn't realize something simple. I had just started taking notes. The air outside Vesper was cold, but it felt better than the lies hanging in that restaurant. I didn't get in my car right away. Just stood there, watching couples walk in, still in love, still pretending the world wasn't a meat grinder for people like me. By the time I got home, it was dark. The porch light was on, like nothing had changed. Like she hadn't just handed me my dignity in a to-go box and smiled while doing it. But something felt different. Not the furniture. Not the photos on the wall. It was the air. Her perfume lingered in the hallway. Only this time, it wasn't just her scent. There was something else. Musky. Masculine. Like arrogance had a fragrance and it had spent the night in my house. I walked into the bedroom. The bed was perfectly made, corners tucked so tight it looked military. Ashley never made it like that. Not unless someone else was going to see it. I sat on the edge. My hands still ached from clenching through dinner. My mind was racing, but not with rage. With curiosity. She wanted a clean break. Fine. But if she thought I was walking away without knowing exactly how deep this hole went, she didn't know me at all. I got up. Started with the closet. Nothing looked obviously out of place until I saw the heels. Red. Expensive. Never worn around me. She'd told me they hurt her feet. Apparently, they didn't hurt when she was stepping over my trust. Then the vanity. Her tablet was there. No lock. She always said she didn't need one. I trust you. Which, in hindsight, translates to, you trust me. And that's enough. I opened the photo app. And that's when the truth finally stood up and slapped me. There she was, in a hotel mirror, wrapped in a towel that barely qualified as fabric, making the kind of face she used to make only for me. Date stamped. Last weekend. The same weekend she said she was at her friend Lacey's baby shower in Sacramento. I closed the tablet, set it down gently, like it might explode, and sat back. That was it. The confirmation. No more guesswork. No more wondering if I was being paranoid. I wasn't. I was being played. My phone buzzed. A message from her. You didn't have to do that. You embarrassed yourself. Not, are you okay? Not, let's talk. Just blame. That's when the switch flipped. Right then. Not because she cheated, but because she enjoyed letting me find out that way. Publicly. With a smirk and a side of red wine. She wanted me humiliated. Well, she clearly underestimated how good I am at taking notes. The next morning, I woke up before the sun. Not because I wanted to, because I couldn't sleep. My brain was running background processes like a computer left on too long. Ashley hadn't come home. No surprise there. I figured she was off somewhere with Chase, sipping overpriced coffee and talking about how brave she was for finally breaking free from her emotionally unavailable husband. The coffee maker sputtered to life like it was tired of being here, too. I stared at the calendar on the fridge. Her little notes were still scribbled in pink gel pen. Dinner with Lacey 2 Arts. Pick up dry cleaning. Team retreat next weekend. All of it looked innocent. All of it was fake. I didn't rage. Didn't throw plates or punch walls like some guy in a made-for-TV movie. That's not how I do things. I'm not a screamer. I'm an accountant. I deal in facts, not feelings. And right now, I was sitting on a goldmine of facts. I took out my laptop and opened the folder I'd started months ago, back when the gut feeling first kicked in. I didn't even know what I was looking for then. I just knew something didn't add up. Now, every puzzle piece made sense. There were receipts, 2 dinners in 2 cities she was never supposed to be in. Hotel bookings under her maiden name. Text screenshots I'd pulled from our phone plan. Same number, again and again, listed as Chasty. She'd renamed him in her contacts to something else. I don't remember what. Something harmless. Like Heather or dog groomer. But phone bills don't lie. It wasn't just cheating. It was choreography. She'd been staging it for months. I wasn't in denial anymore. That was dead and buried, right next to the man I used to be before this whole mess. Now, I was planning. I wasn't interested in hurting her. I was interested in something better, ruining the performance. Pulling back the curtain. Showing everyone who she really was. That starts with knowing what she cared about most. Not me. Not our house. Not even Chase, honestly. It was her reputation. Ashley curated her image like an art gallery, clean, powerful, admired. Instagram perfect brunches. Handwritten thank you cards. Always the first to organize a baby shower and the last to leave a volunteer event. She was the queen of appearances. So naturally, I decided to tear the mask off in front of the whole court. Step 1. Access. I copied every file from her tablet onto an external drive: emails, photos, documents. I wasn't looking for scandalous content. I was looking for patterns, travel timelines, booking overlaps, anything that exposed the scope of the affair. I even found a note labeled Life Planning Private. Inside were bullet points like: discuss separation by May after bonus hits. Consider cohabiting with Chase, test run. Get ahead of narrative with friends, frame Logan as checked out. She wasn't just cheating. She was plotting my exit like it was a marketing campaign. At that point, something snapped into focus. This wasn't heartbreak anymore. This was a war of narrative. And if she wanted to write me as the cold, boring husband who didn't love her enough, then fine. But I was going to write the epilogue. Step 2. The audience. See, Ashley and I had a shared friend group. Well, we had one. She'd started pruning it long ago, slowly turning people into her friends and leaving me out of plans. It didn't take a genius to see it. But there were still a few neutral parties. And one in particular, Sarah, was as sharp as they come. We'd always gotten along. She was no gossip, but she valued truth. I sent her a short message. Hey, Sarah. I know things have been weird. I won't ask you to take sides. Just wanted to say thanks for always being kind. P.S. I may send you something soon. Not for drama, just clarity. She replied with a thumbs up. That was enough. Step 3. The message. No ranting. No essay. Just a zip file. Photos. Hotel invoices. A screenshot of Ashley's life planning doc. And one video clip, a home security recording from 2 months back. Chase letting himself into our house at 9:17 a.m. on a Tuesday. Ashley said she was at yoga. I guess she meant horizontal yoga. I labeled the file, since everyone loves the truth. I didn't send it yet. Timing mattered. Instead, I drafted a letter. Not to Ashley. To her boss. Hello, Mr. Reynolds. I hope this finds you well. I wanted to reach out regarding a sensitive matter involving your employee Ashley Cole and another team member, Chase Donovan. I've attached documentation that raises concerns about conduct that may violate company ethics policies, particularly in relation to their travel claims and time reporting. I'm not seeking anything personally, just accountability. Thank you for your time. I read it twice. Clean. Professional. No accusations, just facts. By the time Ashley came home the next day, hair disheveled and eyes guarded, I was already 3 steps ahead. She opened the door like nothing had happened. Hey, she said, voice wary. We should probably talk. I didn't flinch. Sure, I said, but not today. I've got errands. And I walked right past her smiling. Because nothing rattles a control freak like the feeling that they're no longer holding the wheel. Ashley didn't say much when I brushed past her. She just stood in the entryway, her keys dangling in one hand, trying to calculate what game I was playing. I wasn't playing. I was executing. By the time she unpacked whatever lies she'd rehearsed in the car, I was already halfway to the bank. That's where my name still held value. On paper, Ashley and I shared everything. Joint accounts, joint savings, joint mortgage. But I'd set up a private account a while back. Not because I expected betrayal, but because when things started going weird, you don't wait for confirmation. You prepare. That morning, I transferred half the money. Not out of revenge. Out of fairness. She wanted a clean break? Then she could start learning what that actually meant. That night, she didn't try to talk again. She sat on the far end of the couch like I was a volatile animal she didn't know how to pet anymore. Her phone never left her hand. I could see her checking her notifications like she was expecting something. Or maybe someone. Chase, I assumed. I hoped he was as brave when the lights weren't low and the wine wasn't flowing. Because if he was half as bold as he'd been at Vesper, he'd need it soon. Across town, Ashley's file was opening on her boss's laptop. I didn't send it from my personal email. I sent it anonymously from a clean, generic address with no traceable links. The kind of message that HR departments forward quietly and discuss in closed-door meetings over HR policies and lukewarm coffee. And Sarah? She'd opened her file too. She texted me just one line. I didn't want to believe it. I'm sorry. I didn't respond. Didn't need to. She'd share it naturally. She knew the kind of people Ashley prided herself on impressing. People who posted quotes about honesty but didn't like being confronted with actual truth. By Thursday, the wind had shifted. Ashley came home earlier than usual. No gym stop. No fake work meeting. She hovered in the kitchen while I chopped vegetables. My hands were steady. Hers weren't. I had a weird day, she said, voice like a balloon slowly deflating. Must have been the weather, I replied. Chase didn't show up to work. He called in, but I don't know. It's weird. Probably got tired of playing pretend, I said, sliding chopped carrots into the pan. Takes energy to be someone you're not. She was quiet. I could feel the tension rising behind me, like heat off a stovetop. Finally, she exhaled. Logan. I know you're angry. I know I screwed up. I never wanted it to be this. I turned around slowly. Don't. Her mouth opened, then shut. You wanted to talk when you thought you had control. You wanted to communicate, when it meant I'd beg or bargain or break. I wiped my hands on a towel. But I don't do desperation. She blinked. You're scaring me. Good, I said simply. Now you know how I felt at Vesper. That night, I got another email from a woman named Melinda from her company's HR department. They were grateful for the information. That's how you know it worked. When they stopped calling her Ashley and start referring to her as a file. The next day, Chase didn't just miss work. He quit. No 2 weeks. No explanation. Just a neatly worded farewell email to the department. Ashley saw it on her phone during breakfast. I saw her eyebrows rise. She tried to hide it with a sip of coffee, but I'd been married to her long enough to read her face like subtitles. Panic was starting to leak through the mascara. By Sunday, the cracks were showing. And for once, I wasn't the one wearing them. Logan, she said that evening, voice softer. I don't know what's happening. People are acting different. Cold. Sarah won't answer my messages. I took a bite of my food. That's odd. She waited. I said nothing else. Do you know something about this? I raised an eyebrow. Ashley, why would I? I'm just the emotionally distant husband, remember? She looked down at her plate. Her appetite was missing. I didn't ask where it went. By the following Tuesday, her office called her in for a review of conduct. They didn't fire her. Not yet. But they advised her to take a few days off to reflect. She came home that afternoon, dropped her bag, and stared at me from the doorway. You told them, didn't you? I looked up from my book. Told who? She stepped forward. My company. You exposed me. You sent them something. I shrugged. You said we weren't working. That you needed a change. I just helped it happen faster. You could have ruined me. I closed the book. No, Ashley. You did that part on your own. I just turned the lights on. She stood there, unsure of what to say next. And that was a first. Ashley always had words, layered, practiced, persuasive. But now? Nothing. She walked upstairs a few minutes later. Quiet. Slow. And I stayed downstairs, listening to the creaks of our house finally shifting under the weight of honesty. This wasn't revenge. Not yet. This was just the tilt, the first domino. The subtle start of gravity doing what it does best. The next few days were oddly quiet. Not peaceful quiet. More like the calm in a courtroom before the verdict's read. Ashley moved through the house like someone waiting for a bomb to go off, except the ticking was coming from inside her own ribs. She still hadn't admitted anything. Not officially. No apologies. No sob story. Just a few half-hearted questions and long, strategic silences, like she thought she could guilt me into resetting the narrative. Like I'd forget the restaurant. The hotel selfies. The file folder full of lies she curated like art. I wasn't angry anymore. That emotion had burned clean and cold. What I felt now was clarity. Purpose. While she spiraled inward, I was finishing the blueprint. The house? It was mine. Bought before we got married. Title in my name. Ashley had always talked about us decorating our mortgage. But legally? The foundation had my name on it. Funny how she never paid much attention to paperwork until now. Thursday morning, I laid the final trap. I left a copy of the property deed on the kitchen counter with a sticky note. Just wanted you to know what's yours and what's not. She read it before I even finished pouring my coffee. I could see the paper tremble slightly in her hands. You're not kicking me out, she said, more command than question. I'm not, I agreed. The law is. She blinked. You can't be serious. I met her eyes. You're right. I can't. That's why I talked to a lawyer instead. The silence that followed was so thick you could have served it with a knife. I thought we could handle this like adults, she said finally. You ambushed me at a restaurant, I replied. With your boyfriend? Her face flushed. It wasn't. Don't finish that sentence. It'll just embarrass you. She put the deed down, a little too hard. What do you want, Logan? You want me to grovel? Cry? Let's get it over with. I smiled, but it wasn't warm. I don't want anything from you, Ashley. Not anymore. That's the part you're struggling with. You thought this story ended with you finding someone exciting and me chasing you with roses and therapy books. I thought maybe we could part peacefully. You burned that bridge in a dining room with white tablecloths. She turned and left the kitchen, slamming the pantry door as if that proved something. I didn't flinch. I wasn't trying to win the argument. I was simply documenting the collapse. And collapse it did. The HR department suspended her indefinitely. No termination, yet. But the language in the email she printed and left on the desk was clear. Her relationship with Chase had violated multiple conduct guidelines. There would be an internal review. Apparently, it didn't help that Chase had sent an email on his way out, throwing her under the bus to save himself. I didn't read it. Just saw the subject line. Clarifying events regarding my departure. Coward's version of she started it. By Friday, Ashley was pacing the house. The kind of pacing someone does when they're not sure where they belong anymore. The queen had been evicted from the castle, but still had access to the furniture. At one point, I caught her standing in our closet, touching her dresses like they were old friends deciding whether to stay loyal. I didn't interrupt. I just watched from the hallway. That night, she tried a different strategy. Nostalgia. She made dinner. Actually cooked. My favorite: grilled salmon, roasted potatoes, steamed broccoli, lemon on the side. She even lit candles. No music. Just the kind of awkward quiet that made your ears ring. I sat down without saying much. Ate a few bites. She waited, then spoke softly. Remember when we used to do this every Sunday? Sure, I said. Back when Sundays weren't dress rehearsals for betrayal. She looked wounded, like I'd kicked her puppy. But I wasn't doing this for drama. I was doing it for precision. Logan, she said, I know I've hurt you. I nodded slowly. You did. Repeatedly. And creatively. I didn't plan it this way. Sure you did, I said, setting my fork down. You had a whole document about it. Her mouth fell open slightly. You read. You left it unlocked. Just like your tablet. Just like your phone. You never thought I'd look. You thought I was too trusting. She said nothing. I read the part about your bonus. About how you wanted to wait until you got it before initiating the exit. Like it was a marketing rollout. Tears welled up in her eyes. Don't, I said. Don't cry now. Crying implies regret. This isn't regret. This is inconvenience. This is your plan unraveling. I didn't mean to fall out of love with you, she whispered. That's the only honest thing you've said all month. We sat in silence again. Then I stood. I'll be filing on Monday. She didn't ask for what. She knew. I walked out of the room, past the candles and the salmon and the charade. And upstairs, I sat in the bedroom. My bedroom. The air felt different now. Lighter. Like truth had finally opened a window. Monday came like a cold handshake. I was in my lawyer's office at 8:45 a.m., sharp suit, clear head. The file I handed over was thick: emails, timestamps, screenshots. Not for revenge. Just for leverage. Clean leverage. We'll be seeking full ownership of the house, my attorney said, scanning. Spousal support is off the table with this kind of evidence. I nodded. And the car. She can keep her lease. The one she drives to other men's hotel rooms. He chuckled. You're remarkably composed. I didn't feel composed. I felt ready. By noon, the papers were drafted. By 4 p.m., they were delivered, served directly to Ashley, hand to hand, while she was at her friend Megan's kitchen table, sipping wine like nothing had happened. She came home at 6, red-eyed, quiet. No fight left. I didn't look up from my book. I assume you got them. I did, she said softly. You really did it. You were expecting a warning? I was expecting a conversation. You had 6 months for that. You used them to shop for lingerie and hotel points. She leaned against the wall, like it was the only thing keeping her upright. I lost everything. I looked up. No. You traded it. 2 days later, Sarah texted me again. Ashley's friend group is imploding. Chase's wife found out. Apparently, she's pregnant. I stared at the screen. Not surprised, just tired. Ashley, meanwhile, spent most of her time upstairs. Quiet. Unpacking boxes she never used to lift. She started calling friends again, but fewer were picking up. The image had cracked. The narrative had turned. And without an audience, Ashley didn't seem to know how to perform. She asked me once, softly, carefully, if we could go to counseling. Just to talk things out. Counseling is for people who made mistakes, I said. Not for people who made arrangements. That night, she started sleeping on the couch. I didn't gloat. There was no need. Consequences handle themselves when the curtain falls. The final meeting was civil. Courthouse. Signatures. A few awkward glances. Ashley wore black, like she was attending a funeral. In a way, she was. Outside, she tried one last time. We built a life together. I nodded, and you demoed it like it was condemned. Tears welled again. Aren't you angry anymore? I said. But then I realized, I'm free. And so are you. She flinched at the word. Free. She thought freedom was chase and new dresses and Sunday brunches with secrets. But freedom isn't fun when no one's cheering anymore. She tried to hug me. I took a step back. Don't rewrite this in your head, I said. You didn't lose me. You spent me. And then I turned and walked away. Not bitter. Not broken. Just done. A week later, the moving truck came. Her name off the mailbox. Her perfume gone from the bathroom. Her silence echoing in the walls. I walked through the house alone, room by room. It felt emptier, but it also felt mine. I found one note taped to the mirror in the bathroom. Her handwriting. If you ever wanted to talk, I'm still here. I smiled. Then I crumpled it. Dropped it in the trash. Some things don't need closure. They need distance. Now, I work. I lift. I cook. I sleep well. People ask if I'm dating again. I tell them I'm rebuilding. Not myself. Just my standards. Ashley didn't break me. She revealed me. And when a man sees himself clearly, really clearly, not through her eyes, not through some filtered marriage photo, but through the mirror of betrayal, he doesn't come back weaker. He comes back untouchable.